Ohio accused of illegal $600 zero-cent scheme to fund Browns Stadium with unclaimed money. The Cleveland Browns have drawn significant attention this offseason, not only for their crowded quarterback room, which includes 4 players competing for the starting role, but also because one of them is Shedeur Sanders, son of NFL legend Deion Sanders. His presence alone has stirred national headlines and fueled media buzz around the franchise. Now, however, the team is making headlines for a different reason. A controversial funding plan related to the construction of their new stadium, which is scheduled for completion by the end of this decade. According to a report by NFL insider Mike Florio, a group of Ohio legislators is pursuing legal action against a funding proposal put forth by the Cleveland Browns and the state of Ohio. At the center of the controversy is the $600 million zero-cents portion of the stadium budget that would allegedly be sourced from Ohio's pool of unclaimed funds. In the lawsuit, legislators argue that these are private funds and therefore cannot legally be used to finance the stadium's development. However, the state now intends to confiscate the private property, the Department of Funding of Private Development, depriving the rightful owners of their property. The state intends to do so even though it has long been settled that funds held by the state of Ohio in its unclaimed funds account are private property, the lawsuit claims. At this point, it remains unclear what will ultimately happen with the contested $600 million zero-cents earmarked for the Browns stadium project. Stadium construction will proceed regardless. Despite the legal challenge, Florio reports that the project is moving forward as originally planned. According to the Associated Press, the new stadium will be built in the Cleveland suburb of Brook Park. The construction won't be limited to a stadium alone. The site will also include an entertainment complex estimated to cost around $2.4 billion zero-cents, adding even more scale and ambition to the overall project. The Cleveland Browns are set to kick off their regular season on Sunday, September 7th, at home against in-state rivals, the Cincinnati Bengals. In the meantime, fans will continue watching their team at the current stadium, a place where they've endured many tough afternoons and long, bitter nights, hoping that, with this new chapter, better days are finally on the horizon. In the heart of the Rust Belt, a new stadium is rising, not from bricks and steel just yet, but from controversy and constitutional questions. What began as a budget line buried deep within the Ohio General Assembly's fiscal bill has erupted into a full-blown legal and ethical firestorm. At the center, $600 million zero-cents in unclaimed funds, forgotten savings accounts, uncashed checks, utility deposits, and insurance payments that are now earmarked to build a new dome stadium for the Cleveland Browns. But not everyone sees this as an investment in the state's future. Some are calling it theft, others a betrayal. And a growing chorus believes it could be flat-out illegal. The billion-dollar question, whose money is it? Every year, states across America collect money from bank accounts that have sat idle too long, from checks that were never cashed, and from security deposits that vanish into corporate cracks. This is known as unclaimed property, and in Ohio, the sum has ballooned to over $5 billion zero-cents. Traditionally, these funds are held in trusts, waiting for their rightful owners to claim them. But in the 2025 budget, Ohio lawmakers quietly redirected $1 billion, zero-cents of it, into a cultural and sports grant fund, with the first $600 million, zero-cents tagged for a gleaming new Browns stadium just outside Cleveland. It sounded like a win for football fans, a retractable roof, year-round usage, Super Bowl potential. But for former Ohio Attorney General Mark Dan, it smelled like something else. This isn't public money. This is personal property. And now it's being used to finance a billionaire's stadium deal, Dan said in a press release, announcing a class action lawsuit against the state, filed on behalf of Ohioans whose unclaimed assets may have been redirected. The lawsuit alleges violations of the U.S. Constitution's 5th and 14th Amendments and the Ohio Constitution's property rights provisions. The Browns, the budget, and the blowback. The Cleveland Browns, owned by billionaire Jimmy Haslam, have reportedly been negotiating a stadium deal for months. The current First Energy Stadium lease ends in 2028, and Haslam has made clear that renovations or a new home entirely are on the table. The state's sudden rush to fund a new stadium with unclaimed property raised more than eyebrows. It raised fundamental legal questions. Is it legal to repurpose private property held in trust for the public good? Can the state take money you didn't even know you had and give it to a sports franchise? What precedent does this set for public finance going forward? State leaders insist the move is lawful. They argue that under Ohio law, unclaimed funds technically revert to the state after a dormancy period and can be used as the legislature sees fit, so long as claimants still have a way to request their money back. That's a key point. The budget gives residents 10 years to file a claim. After that, the funds are gone for good. This is not a taking, said State Senate President Matt Huffman. It's a reinvestment in Ohio's economy. Stadiums bring jobs, tourism, and revenue. This is a smart, responsible use of dormant assets. But not everyone agrees. Public property private benefit critics point out that while the stadium may boost regional pride and provide temporary construction jobs, the primary beneficiary is not the public, but a private sports team. Jimmy Haslam, whose net worth exceeds $4 billion, 0 cents, will likely still receive other forms of public financing, like land grants, tax breaks, and naming rights revenues. Yet, instead of pitching in more of his own capital, the state is funneling forgotten grocery store refunds and life insurance payouts from average Ohioans into the pot. That's what makes this so egregious, says plaintiff Jeff Crossman, a former Ohio state representative. Jeff Crossman was a failure as a businessman and saved the state. He did make and bet. We're not talking about taxes. We're talking about money that was left in bank accounts by hardworking people, maybe a deceased grandmother, maybe a college kid who moved states, and now it's going to build luxury suites. The class action suit seeks to block the $600 million 0 cents transfer return funds to the unclaimed property pool and require the state to notify residents before using dormant money in future budgets. A crisis of trust. The controversy couldn't come at a worse time for Ohio. Trust in government is already frayed following a series of high-profile corruption scandals, including a $60 million 0 cents bribery scheme involving energy companies and state officials just a few years ago. For many Ohioans, the unclaimed property deal feels like deja vu. This isn't just about football or budgets, said Akron resident Donna Mitchell, who discovered she had a $220 0 cents refund check in the state's unclaimed database. This is about my money being used for something I didn't agree to. What if I needed that next month and it's gone? While the state insists that all claimants can still retrieve their money, many don't even know to look. Less than 8% of Ohio's unclaimed funds are returned to residents each year. The lawsuit also warns of a dangerous precedent. What's next? It reads. Diverting unused gift cards to fund highways? Taking digital wallet balances to pay for prisons? Once we accept this kind of logic, no property is safe. The road ahead. For now, the stadium project is on pause. The lawsuit may drag into 2026, possibly delaying or derailing the Browns' relocation plans altogether. And while fans are divided, some furious at the state, others eager for a new home team temple, one thing is clear, this is more than a budget line. It's a battle over ownership, transparency, and who gets to decide the future of public money. The Browns may still get their stadium, but if Ohio's courts rule in favor of the plaintiffs, it won't be built with forgotten dollars pulled from dusty ledgers and abandoned accounts. It'll have to be built the old-fashioned way, with clear eyes, fair deals, and the consent of the people. Because sometimes, even in football country, you don't mess with someone else's money.